Hard Hat's all about showing up to play hard, doing what it takes to win.
If you want to cement legacy, win another.
He's your third center.
You don't want to pump him up too much, but it's hard not to.
This is maybe the most I've ever agreed with you.
Hey, Bobby Manning here, and welcome in Josue Pavon back in Beantown for the big game tonight. Probably the biggest game left for both these teams this season. Celtics Thunder. Josue Pavon, former CLNS media, now Clutch Points covering the Thunder out in Oklahoma City, but he's going to be in the house tonight for Celtics Thunder. And last time we watched these two, Josue, it was pretty much all Thunder.
Yeah, especially in that fourth quarter, man. They ran away with it. That was huge. It was that defense that's really defined them all season long. Top ranked defense made all the difference in that fourth quarter. But you know how the Celtics are, Bobby. Though they don't forget. It doesn't matter how many weeks or months have gone by since. So they're gonna get Oklahoma State's gonna get their best punch for sure. But I'm just bummed there's no Jalen Williams in this, man. And I know Celtics fans, there's most likely no Kristaps, but yeah, I mean, just like the last time though, there was no Chet Holmgren. So it's always going to be that type of lineup when these two teams meet. It feels like at least during the regular season, but hopefully we get a finals matchup, but we'll see.
Yeah, it feels like it. And sometimes you think it's so inevitable, and then it doesn't end up happening. I think that's where we were on Celtics Nuggets last year, and then the Nuggets ended up losing to Minnesota. Thunder looked pretty good last year too, and then ended up losing to Dallas, and then Dallas, who no one expected to end up in the finals, gets there. So I think there's a very high chance this happens as a final series, but Denver's still tough, as you saw over the weekend, Josue, early this week. That's a matchup that they have to figure out with Jokic, especially out there. And we'll talk about some of the cool stuff they did against him in that game. And then you look at Dallas again. I worried about them, and now they're out of the mix here. So things can change fast. And even with this Thunder team, you mentioned no Jalen Williams. There's a little stretch there where I'm like, all right, Thunder the team to beat. You saw what they did against Boston. They have this defense, this record. But if there's one thing I say about that roster, and what I'm most looking forward to tonight, is I'd say they have 2, maybe 3 on-ball creators. Obviously, SGA, who's going to do most of everything, Jalen, and then a little bit of Case and Wallace. Other than that, it's a lot of catch-and-shoot guys. It's a lot of big men. And so, you look at the Celtics, and they have like 5, 6, 7 creators, so many guys that can create their own shot. And the Thunder are really built around Shea, and that's why he's probably going to win MVP. But I'm interested tonight to see if Joe is like, let's take Shea completely out of this and see if anyone else can beat us.
Yeah, the only other person I'd add to that list is Aaron Wiggins. I think he's really coming to his own this season. And he's capable to have these 20-point, 25-point nights, and it's not just based on his outside shooting. So I definitely throw him in there. But yeah, I mean, to your point, Bobby, that's certainly what it's like, offensively for these guys. A lot of guys that Shea can always kick out to. They're there to knock down that 3-point shot. I mean, Lou Dort hit a career high 8 threes against the Nuggets, and of course came in a losing effort. But I mean, it just goes to show you what this offense can look like when Jalen Williams is not out there. Now, Jalen Williams suffered a hip injury in the first half, so he didn't play the entire second half. And I think that was a huge benefit for the Nuggets in the sense of just not having that other guy that you can kind of, throw the ball to and can create on his own, especially in lineups that don't feature Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, which is exactly when he got hurt in that second quarter. So it's going to be interesting to see how they respond in those moments against the Celtics when you don't have Jalen out there, when Shea has to take a breather. But that's when someone like Aaron Wiggins steps in. He's having a hell of a season. He had a career high in points earlier this year with, 40 plus. It's just when you look at the combination of him and what Shea can do and getting other guys involved. Case and Wallace is definitely another person. Isaiah Joe has had a few big nights, career nights, especially from behind the 3-point arc. These guys can really get going from deep for sure. So I want to see how the Celtics defend that, because I do think that's going to play a part, especially coming off of a loss. They typically this season, it's rare, right? They have a dozen losses this season. They always come back very strong after losses. You know, they had a day to sort of think about what happened with the back-to-back against the Nuggets, which was a really challenging playoff type atmosphere between these two teams. So I'm eager to see how they respond, especially at TD Garden. You know, not to bring up Jalen again, but he even mentioned during the podcast how like he's mesmerized in a sense of how like ruckus and how it is in Boston, but he feels like he hasn't been, you know, that sort of all-star quite yet at the Garden. So, you know, it's a missed opportunity, but I'm sure he's going to relay all that information to these guys. I know these guys are really pumped up about this matchup, you know, going up against the champions. I mean, most teams are this season, you know, because they're the champions, but also I just think it's, like you said, Bob, it's one of the few big matchup they have left on the schedule. And they, you know, coming off of the loss against the Nuggets, it'd be a great way to bounce back.
So you mentioned the fourth quarter. It was a disaster for Boston in that game. 3 for 18, 2 of 11 from 3. Turnovers flying everywhere. They had 7 in that quarter.
They
It
had
was
like
the worst.
12 points, I think. Yeah.
12
Might have been
points.
the worst
Yeah.
fourth of the season for the Celtics.
Yeah, probably. I mean, you could probably go as far as to say it was the worst quarter they've had under Missoula. Jalen's 0 for 4 in that quarter. Jalen Brown. We got so many Jalen's in this matchup. We got to use the full name.
I know, right?
Tatum's
Yeah,
2 for 6. And then on the other side, the Celtics are ignoring Dort, trying to play off him. You know, that's their defensive style, is they're going to try to push the ball to the weaker shooter, and he hits 3 threes. So there's a lot they have to adjust to in this game. And you mentioned one of them, Chet, coming back. The Celtics love to play big. We'll see if Porzingis is back, and we can talk about that in a couple minutes here, that weird situation, and we might get some more information on today.
Hopefully.
Now that you have Hartenstein and you have Holmgren if you're Oklahoma City, I'm wondering, do they stay small? Do they continue to run, try to beat Boston with athleticism? Or are they going to go to some of those bigger looks? Because to me, the Celtics are going to be more comfortable seeing Oklahoma City play big, maybe play off Chet a little bit to pack the paint against Shea. If I'm Oklahoma City, I'm still trying to run them off the floor. But now you have Chet and you have to balance those big man minutes.
Yeah, no, for sure. It'll be interesting to see how Dagnall balances that, because you know, without Jalen, it does make a big difference. Jalen Williams, I should say. But then there's another Jalen Williams, right? I mean, coming off the bench, he's been huge for this team. You know, he came off of his first career triple-double a few nights ago. He can stretch the floor. He's a really good passer, very underrated passer, very similar to what you get from Isaiah Hartenstein and Chet. You know, they can really run those high lows and get the bench guys going, which is typically the lineup that he's mixed up with. So yeah, I think you're gonna see a healthy balance of both, especially with the way Chet's been. They kind of been letting him go in a way. You know, I mean, it's beyond a minutes restriction. He was similar to what, you know, Al and Porzingis were going through in the sense of not playing on the second nights of back-to-backs, but they eliminated that against the Nuggets. So they really want to see what, you know, push the limitations with Chet right now. And I think this is a great opportunity for them to do that. But yeah, I mean, to your point, I just do think there's going to be a healthy balance of both, going small and double big, because they really want to maximize that starting five featuring them, you know, the double big lineup. So I do think that plays a part tonight with Isaiah and Chet. But again, you know, having that healthy balance is what really makes this team difficult to defend, especially when you can mix in guys off the bench like the other Jalen Williams. You know, you got you got shooters like I mentioned earlier, Isaiah Joe, Aaron Wiggins. I mean, Lou Dort is coming off a huge shooting night as well, even though he's in the starting lineup. So yeah, I mean, that's the thing about this team, Bobby. I just feel like the depth really shows in moments like this. I mean, it's shown all season, and it was like for 4 days they were relatively healthy, or 90% healthy, or their entire player rotation was healthy until this Jalen Williams injury happened against the Nuggets. But we'll see how they bounce back. I mean, guys step up for sure, and they definitely, you know, have guys at the wing position that can do that against the Celtics.
Yeah, and so if there's no Porzingis, you have to think Celtics go Horford here again, switch, you know, try to play that style, and it's looked good, you know, during the stretch. Porzingis missing 7 games recently, so they've had a ton of time in that lineup and wins and rest too, you know, coming into this game. No Horford, no Tatum in that last game as well against Utah, so they're coming in refreshed as well. And it was an interesting balance for that Lakers game last week, because obviously a ton of guys were resting leading up to that, and they actually came out a little bit slow in that game. In the last Celtics Thunder game, and someone mentioned this to me on Twitter after I did our preview of this game with Noah, and it was a good point. The Celtics actually hung in there pretty well in the first half, which, came second to mind after the awful second half that they had in that one. But it was 35-32 after one. Celtics won the second 30-23. So they actually had a solid halftime edge there, and ended up collapsing into the second half. But it wasn't like they didn't play any good stretches in that game. Tatum was solid, got to the free throw line a ton. And Porzingis is the big one here, and we can get into him now. I don't know if he's going to go here. They originally had him doubtful and upgraded him or corrected it, they said, to questionable. He sent out a halftime tweet last game and said, I'm dealing with this illness. We can't figure out what it is, but I'll be back soon. And some of the Celtics were even saying after the game, Josue, hopefully we'll see him Wednesday. So on one hand, you're like, he has this illness no one knows about, and they're trying to figure it out. And that sounds like he's going to be out a long time, but he's questionable tonight. He had been doubtful the last handful of games here, and sounds like he is getting close, as Joe Mazzulla said. So I don't know which way to lean there. As far as I've heard, he's been ramping up, and the challenge has been hitting a fatigue wall and basically having to start over from square one when that happens. So he's going to be a major swing factor tonight if he is coming back. He's missed a ton of time here. Maybe you even consider bringing him off the bench if his minutes are limited, but having him to go against that Oklahoma City double big lineup that you mentioned they're probably going to go to, I think is important here, because can the Celtics get by with Horford and Cornet and playing smaller? Yes, but I think it's ideal to have all your options against Oklahoma City, and the Celtics have actually been at their best this year playing two bigs together, I'd say.
Yeah, I mean, it's just this whole like cryptic thing. It's just, I don't know, man. I almost feel like the tweet was posted to sort of just like let people know that it might take a little bit longer, but hopefully I'm wrong. I mean, players talking about him potentially coming back tonight, that would be great, obviously, for the Celtics and for the Thunder to have that, look, that wrinkle. But I don't know, man. I just feel like the Celtics are gonna be very precautious, as they should, with something like this, with someone like Kristaps Porzingis, and hopefully he's gonna be back soon. But I'd be really surprised if he's back tonight. Hopefully I'm wrong,
especially for this intense of a matchup, right?
Right, yeah, to throw him in there like that. I mean, again, in a sense of him coming back soon, hopefully I'm right, and that's in that regard, because you hate to see someone go down, something like this, something, essentially probably out of Kristaps' control. But man, I just can't remember something like this.
Yeah, neither can I.
Something like this. Yeah,
I know he plays one game, comes back for a game in Detroit 2 weeks ago, and then goes down and has been down for 6 straight games and potentially 7 tonight with this thing. And again, hard to tell what's going on here specifically, and not a ton of information out there. But that's something I've never seen either, Josue, as a player tweeting out his own injury update at halftime of a game.
right. When the coach is like, I don't know, and like, or no other updates, and then this guy's like, wait, I got one, guys, don't worry. It's like, wait, what? Like, what is going on? And then you can't identify it. Like, doctors can't identify. Like, this is Boston. This is 2025. Like, most renowned, people come here to study medicine from all over the world, and it's like, you must be having specialists be looked at. You must be looked at by specialists and stuff. So yeah.
So yeah, talking to some people, that isn't as strange as it sounds, actually, because I was like that too. I was like, they can't figure it out. What? I guess there's certain viruses that you can't test for, like the flu and COVID and that sort of stuff. You'd be able to, but with this, whatever it is, there's certain things that you would go to the doctor for and try to figure out what it is, and you might just not know it. And it sounds like cough, that sort of thing is what he's dealing with, the respiratory stuff there. And that makes sense if the conditioning can't get to where he needs to get on the court. So I think that's all it is at this point. He's been at the games. It's not like he disappeared and we don't know where he is. He was there again last game, and just seems to be trying to ramp up and can't quite get there right now. So as mysterious as this sounded, and I still have a healthy level of skepticism here, like what's actually going on, I do feel like just kind of talking to people and figuring out like how this stuff goes, that he's probably just not where he needs to be conditioning wise, and actually is getting close here. But we'll have updates on that. We got shoot around in just a little bit here, so we'll see if he's at shoot around and even talks. I'm sure that's possible today as well. We are powered by Prize Picks. Go over there as the NBA season winds down here, the regular season, it's still the hottest time to go over there and get real money sports action with over 10 million members and billions in awarded winnings. They've made daily fantasy sports accessible to all, and that's what it is, daily fantasy. You pick more or less on at least 2 players and their stat projections for a chance to win up to 1,000 times your cash. Yes, a shot to win up to 1,000 times your cash on Prize Picks. Run your game all season long on Prize Picks. Again, available in more than 30 states. And you can join your friends, try to cook up some teams and some predictions that you have for how guys might do. You can say, hey, Curry's going to have more than 5 threes tonight. That's always possible. LeBron's going to get more than 24 points. Well, that's not happening because he's out. But more than 35, Giannis. That's a great one right now, too, as the Bucks make their push toward the playoffs. And for tonight, I would go more Tatum and more on Chet Holmgren scoring points out there tonight, because I do think the Celtics are going to dare Chet to beat them. I think Tatum's going to be able to get what he needs in this matchup, attacking different Thunder players. So again, you got baseball, hockey, esports going on right now too, and of course your favorite basketball players all available on Prize Picks, mix and match player projections from different sports too. That's another great feature over there, and it's all available over on the Prize Picks app. The race to the playoffs is heating up, so go over there for the best place to cash in on your favorite sports. Use the code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That's CLNS for $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, run your game. You got any predictions for tonight, Josue?
Prize Picks wise, or
Prize Picks, yeah.
I gotta see. To be honest, I haven't even looked at it yet, man.
All right, we'll get yours at the end of the show here. I'm going Chet too, man. I think they're going to try to make him beat him. Yeah. So.
All right. I'll look it up right now. Firing it up right now.
All right, we'll get Josue's Prize Picks at the end of the show here. In the meantime, is this a must-win for Boston? That's the big question I have coming in this one. We got our guy Benjamin in the chat, pissed I'm even asking that. I feel like it's valid. And
yeah, Benjamin's going off, man. Good morning, Benjamin. What's going on, man?
I said this to Noah Josue. This isn't a must-win for Boston, because if it's a close game and Porzingis is out and X, Y, and Z, you can say, all right, you know, a series could be different. Who knows if they're going to play this team down the line? You can say all that stuff. The one thing they can't do is come out and get destroyed again and have a half like we saw at Oklahoma City. Look like they can't score points against the Thunder at full strength defensively there, and all the things that they do on that end. Because then you start to say, is this a bad matchup? Is this something that you can't match up with if it comes time in the finals? Or would the Thunder be favorites in that matchup? And coming out of that last game, Josue, and what Oklahoma City did in the stretch right after it, I said, you have to call the Thunder the favorites at this point, just because of what they're doing right now, even though you give Boston the benefit of the doubt. I've actually shifted back recently, and I like what the Celtics are looking like at full strength. I like their health right now. I like some of the wins that resemble last year that we've seen from them recently. That Lakers one was out of this world great on Saturday against a hot team. So I'm actually back to favoring the Celtics just among everybody right now, even with what Cleveland's doing, because I like the matchup against Cleveland for Boston. But if they come out of tonight beat down by double digits, struggling to score, it really looks like they can't contain Shea, and that's the big one. I feel like they have to be able to contain Shea this time and actually put Tatum on him, put Brown on him, make those matchups work. I would be mildly concerned. Again, not a must win, but a must compete, I'll call it, Josue. You can't get blown out here if you're Boston.
Yeah, I agree with that. I agree with that for sure. I mean, it's hard to call it a must win when you look at where the Celtics are right now in the standings and what's left of the regular season, and it's like, I don't know if you could label it as a must win, as a sense that it's not a team you're going to see in the playoffs unless you reach
until the finals.
The NBA finals. Right. But at the same time, because of what happened last time, right, like you can't lose by double digits here. No Jalen Williams. Yeah, SGA is still out there, but to show where the Celtics are in the sense of that defensive juggernaut and a team that doesn't forget what happened last time, I'd be really surprised if that's the case. So we're in for a competitive night, I think. But at the same time, yes, how they defend SGA is going to be interesting. I mean, the Denver Nuggets did a really good job in a sense of sort of giving him kind of doubling up, but also it was sort of like a zone defense, but just like shadowing him throughout, especially in that second half when there was no Jalen Williams. And it was somewhat successful. I mean, it's something that Mark Dagnall talked about after the game and said that's something that he hasn't really seen all season long. SGA said that Minnesota did something very similar. So he said it kind of reminded him of how Minnesota defended them, especially when they blew a big lead earlier this season, or it was like about a month ago. And they ended up losing that game. So if I'm Joe Mazzulla, I'm looking at that tape. I'm looking at what type of version of the Celtics can do in the sense of what Denver did, in terms of how they guarded SGA, and the Celtics have the personnel for that. It's not like it's something that he can't do. And you look at the way the wings and you can mix it up with the bigs up top. Whether it's Al, whether it's like you said, Jalen, which I would think would probably be one of his main defenders. I want to see how they go about that because, right, like you said earlier, you don't let him go off. I think that's going to be a big part of the game plan in the sense of just shadowing Shea, making it hard for Shea. I mean, Shea's going to get his, obviously, but there's a difference between, getting damn near 40 points and what we saw against the Nuggets, 25 points, what was it, 8 for 16 or something like that, much more limited to what he usually does all season long as a player who leads the league in scoring and gets 30 plus, every single night pretty much.
Yeah, and when you look back at that matchup a couple of years ago, the Celtics did use Tatum on him in that game. And in the fourth quarter, they were able to limit Shea a little bit on that night. The Oklahoma City game 2 seasons ago, or last season rather, where Celtics lose. It was a crazy game, high-scoring one, and that's become a bit of a house of horrors for the Celtics out there in Oklahoma City. But Shea in the fourth quarter, 0 for 3 with Tatum on him. And that's, I think, what you got to do tonight because you don't want to double him. There's a lot of guys around him that can make plays and do some stuff. You don't want other guys beating you that badly that you're going to bring the extra pressure against him. But I think if you put a bigger body on him, a guy who's not going to just be physically overmatched. And that was what we saw in the last matchup there. Like Shea went at Pritchard. Shea went at some of those guards, Derek White. Like, I don't think those guys are going to be enough against Shea straight up. And again, don't think you want to. Celtics aren't really a team that likes to double guys. I think they like to switch and play straight up and all that. So, when it matters most, at the very least in this game, and I know both coaches are going to try some stuff, I think you want Tatum on Shea, and especially if you're going to really try to win this game. And I think the Celtics should be in that mindset after what happened last game, fully rested. This is really the only crucial game left for them. And I know Tatum and Brown are both on the injury report here. I'd have to imagine that's not for tonight. Well, Jalen looked hurt last game, so I'll actually say that his was valid. I think he's going to be good to go tonight, but tweaked his knee last game. Tatum being questionable, I think, is probably to line him up for some rest in this weekend's back-to-back against Miami and Brooklyn. So I don't think Tatum's actually in doubt for this game. But as you mentioned, Josue, Jalen Williams is out. Porzingis completely up in the air. Again, we'll have an update on him here shortly. But I'm really looking forward to this one, Josue. I think this is going to be a super intriguing matchup as it was last time. And even though a lot of things could change, I have a very strong feeling. I put it like over 50% that this is going to be the finals matchup when the time comes. But of course, anything can happen. How's the season been covering them? I'm sure we'll talk about it later tonight. But, just what stands out about this Thunder team and is this a group that could win it all? I know people are starting to give them their credit, but it's a different thing to say, hey, these guys could be champions here. And it's starting to feel like it could creep in that direction.
It could, Bobby, but getting there, I think is, which I was about to say, getting there, I think is going to be much harder for the Thunder than it is for the Celtics. Like getting to the finals, I do think the Lakers change things. Thunder fans are kind of delusional right now. They don't want to see into that, but it's true. I mean, it's true regardless of what happened with LeBron James recently, and he's probably gonna miss up to 2 weeks or whatever the case may be. I mean, if they keep themselves in the top 3, I just think that's a really, really tough matchup for the Thunder. But we'll see. We'll see. I mean, we'll see if that's what happens, especially going into the Western Conference Finals. But I mean, yeah, the Denver Nuggets are also a team to worry about, I think, for sure. The Warriors is sort of a dark horse. I don't know, but like you said, I mean, it's in terms of like the odds, I think that the Thunder should get to the finals. They should, but it's just not going to be as easy as it would be for this team like the Celtics, which outside of Cleveland, I just don't see a team that really gives them a tough time in the postseason.
Yeah, Celtics going to get Miami round 1 or something like that. Atlanta round 2 will be New York, who they've mostly handled.
They'll be in cruise control, man. Even the Knicks are like, man, the Knicks fans are so excited about this season. Like, what's going on? Like, what happened? I mean, like the Western Conference is going to be a dogfight for sure, and it's usually like that. Like you said at the top of the show, I mean, no one predicted to see the Mavericks in the finals, and that's what we got last year. So anything could happen, anything is possible. But this year's been a blast, man. Like OKC, the fan base, this team, the head coach. I mean, yeah, he won the coach of the year last year, and rightfully so, because I mean, it's great. Like in the sense of like how he has these guys playing at their maximum potential. The way he really is, like, what's the word I'm looking for? Very meticulous in like his approach. I mean, you saw what happened against the Nuggets, right?
That stuff was amazing.
With the inbound stuff, like, he sees everything.
How do you even think about that? Yeah.
Right.
And that's why
right.
this gets fun too. Like, Joe's like that too. Yeah.
Right. Like he remembered what happened against the Warriors 2 years ago, and he's like, "Nah, man, not today." And I feel like, Bobby, he was gonna say Draymond, but he didn't want to make it personal. He was like, like that time when
he would have been on the podcast
against the Warriors. Yeah, exactly. Right. He's like, the last thing he wants to do is give this dude some fuel to bring him up, because Draymond would be like, "Man, look at this coach over here calling me out." You know what I mean? Like, he would have been this whole thing. So, but yeah, like he doesn't want that type of smoke, obviously. But I just think like he's so in tune with what he's doing, like eye for detail, like crazy. And it's really fascinating because obviously, super young coach, sort of under that like division of these young coaches that just really, in their first few years have made such an impact, alongside, of course, Joe Mazzulla, of course, look, I'm drawing a blank right now. Utah, you saw him recently.
Will Hardy.
Will Hardy. Like, yeah, it's just it's like this new age of these young head coaches taking the league by storm.
Even JJ Redick.
It's just fascinating. Yeah, even JJ, man. It hasn't slept much, but yeah, like, he's certainly in the mix. Like, you can just tell, like, he's been stressed out all season long. But man, what a blessing though. He got a freaking Luka Doncic fell in his lap this year, so he'll be all right. But he just needs to get some more sleep, man. You got to take it easy. JJ's hard on himself, but hey, that's what I guess most head coaches are, right? At least the good ones.
I've been impressed by him and impressed by what Josue is doing out in Oklahoma City, but he's back in Boston for this big matchup tonight, and I can't wait. We got a 7:30 tip-off tonight. We'll have some updates shortly. Again, Porzingis, is he at shoot-around? We'll go find that out right now.
Yes, sir. And Bobby, look out for the tribute video, man. It's gonna be dope tonight, man. No, I'm just playing. But no, I can't wait.
Do I have that loaded up? Yeah. No, we'll hear more from Josue tonight. We have post-game scheduled for after the game. So thanks for joining us here, Josue, and previewing this one. And good to have you back in town here tonight, man. I'll see you in a bit.
Absolutely, man. Sounds good. See you guys tonight. Thank you for tuning in, everyone. It's going to be fun.